Summary of Odor of Chrysanthemums by D. H. Lawrence. As the light begins to fade into twilight, a lady yells out to her little son John as a train passes by the mining town where they live. As they walk toward the house, he joins her and pulls at the chrysanthemum bushes in a mean way. The mother tells her son to stop, then grabs a flower branch to smell and puts it in her belt. A mother and son wait at the bottom of the stairs to watch the miners go home from work. The woman's father is the engine driver, and he calls out to her to see if she wants a cup of tea. The train stops in front of their gate. The woman makes tea, bread, and butter, and she talks to her father about how she doesn't like how quickly he got married again. In order to explain himself, her father says that he heard that the woman's husband, Walter, was wasting his money in bars. The woman says with a sour tone that this news is probably true. The woman's father gets off the train, and Elizabeth, the woman, walks into the house and starts making tea for the family. As the day goes on, it gets darker, and fewer workers are walking by on their way home. When a little girl comes in, Elizabeth tells her she's late for dinner. The girl, Annie, says that it's not even dark yet. Annie tells Elizabeth that she hasn't seen her father when Elizabeth asks her. Elizabeth tells him in a mean voice that he probably snuck by Annie on his way to the pub. Annie sits by the fire and looks at the flames. If she doesn't take care of the fire, her mother says, her father will complain that the house isn't warm enough when he gets home. John says Annie isn't working fast enough while she tends to the fire. While Elizabeth drinks her tea, her kids eat. She gets more angry as she waits for her husband. While she adds coals to the fire, John says it's too dark. Elizabeth lights a lantern in the middle of the room, which shows her round, pregnant stomach. Annie is amazed by how beautiful the chrysanthemums are and goes to smell them. Elizabeth says that chrysanthemums don't smell nice to her anymore because they were there when she married Walter, had Annie, and when other people first brought Walter home drunk. Elizabeth sews while the kids play, and when it's time for bed, she tells them there won't be a scene when their dad gets home. As she waits, she keeps sewing and gets more worried. When the clock hits 8, Elizabeth leaves the house and walks to town to talk to Mrs. Wrigley, the wife of another worker. There is a pub called Prince of Wales, and Mrs. Wrigley wants to know if Walter is there. Elizabeth waits in the Wrigley's messy home. Jack Wrigley says that he left Walter to finish his shift at the mine when the Wrigley family comes back. Before going to look for Walter, he walks Elizabeth home. She is getting more and more worried as she waits when she hears footsteps at the door. Moaning, Walter's mother comes into the house. Walt had an accident, but she doesn't know how bad it is because Jack Wrigley told her. Elizabeth is told that Walter is dead when the guys come to the door. Elizabeth tells Walter's mother not to wake the kids up when she starts to cry. The guys bring Walter's body into the room, where they break the vase of chrysanthemums and Elizabeth cleans it up. And wakes up because of the noise, and Elizabeth goes to comfort her while the men sneak out of the house. When Elizabeth goes back to the room, she and Walter's mother take off the clothes and wash the body while Walter's mother talks about Walter's childhood. Elizabeth finally understands how far apart she and Walter were, even in real life. She admits that she contributed to the end of their marriage because she never saw Walter for who he really was. When the women are done getting Walter ready, Elizabeth locks the door to the room and cleans up the kitchen. She is well aware that she is responsible for taking care of her current master, life, but she is terrified of her ultimate master, death.
About the author. David Herbert Lawrence was born on September 11, 1885, in Eastwood, Nottinghamshire, England. He grew up in a mining town as a sick boy who was very close to his mother. He understood how hard it was for her to be married to a rough miner with a drinking problem. Many of his female characters, like Elizabeth in Odor of Chrysanthemums, also endured the difficulties of a troubled marriage. Lawrence went to college and then became a teacher. At the same time, he published poems and short stories. As his writing career took off, he quit teaching and became known as a controversial author with books like his second novel, The Rainbow, which was taken away by the police for being obscene. Lawrence died in France in 1930.
Hope we summarized it fully and you liked it. Please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel so that we are motivated to create more videos.